I want to take this opportunity to say that I'm incredibly honored. I can speak for Mike that we're incredibly honored to have this opportunity to participate in the final round in front of all y'all. So many familiar faces from so long ago. But I also want to use the soapbox to thank some people. First, the tournament officials, particularly ML Santos for their hard work and service. It's an unbelievable tournament. The second, I really want to thank Bob and Greenstein, and literally, obviously, we would not be here without their incredible kindness to us. And third is Melissa Wade. The reason I'm at Emory, the reason we're debating, and for all our inspiration and direction in life, helping all of us get out of troubles when we really need it. And also along those lines, I really want to thank Dave, James, and Ricky, and all the rest of the drunk debaters over to the left. And you're probably here throughout the rest of the debate. But thanks everyone. Really appreciate it. All right, everyone ready? The plight of the United States Congress should act to restriction nearly all overall aggregate agricultural subsidies Title 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10 of the 2005 State Rural Investment Act will clarify to advance. One is market liberalization. First is market liberalization subsidy cuts increase development and growth and welfare in developing countries solving food insecurity. But no 2002 export subsidy touched countries displaced agricultural production export developed countries a substantial positive effect developed country products potential protection of export protection industrial economy with their net welfare and decrease in actual protection was industrial economy receives south the worst similar conclusion of historical protective spread negative effects on the production employment result of industrial economy agricultural policy continues access to international trade is usually associated with the growth rates of the economy sample subject 112 countries agriculture strong with overall economic growth this success to our new list just East Asia economic characteristics as strong very early and rural and agriculture development growth to have greater impacts on direction of poverty and national trade to help increase employment and wages for the labor poverty and poverty may cause of food security and national trade opportunity to help with the food security concerns decline food price led to sharp reduction in total food bill they offer that food consumption availability to developing countries small size shows the contribution trade to food security to the country increased economic growth and poverty seeing enhanced food security seeing elimination substantial reduction of something industrial economy moreover the plan provides income to agricultural workers which increases food security. This is code in 2001. Give the rural center gravity of poverty, agricultural rural development center for reducing poverty, food security, developing country, every cent every dollar, income living developing country, income rises to $2.60, growing farm demand, just employment coming, and growth economy. Moreover, a majority of the poor are agricultural workers. This is down 2001. Majority of low income countries reside in rural areas. Primary agriculture major source of income be directly indirect monetary opponents, start markets, primary agriculture closing linked to foreign markets, the national level of foreign are likely to be small to portion benefits at rural household. 840 million deaths now, at 40,000 a day. This is Shaw at World Bank in 2000 estimates 840 million people have enough to eat. That means 1/5 of the world's population developed will die of calories enough protein, and 40,000 people die each day to linked to malnutrition, and 10 billion will die by the year 2030. This is Adela 2001. Most of the world's food calories come from greater temperature code. Now, possible will not feed the 10 billion people, especially 2030 traditional method improvement comes seem to have guns posed that they can and advance to the Philippines. First, farm bill subsidies facilitate U.S. dumping of agriculture in the Philippines. Now, walk-ins and Oxford 96 U.S. 60 supply vast subsidies and agriculture in its competition to soy live and fast scale and leave the country continues to depend on food from come 16,000 subsidies around 30 times our Philippine income. USDA has been steadily cultivating the Philippines as lucrative agricultural export market, and the U.S. is responding by actually this causes violent anti-globalization backlash. In New York Times, in 03, the farmers across the Philippines discovered that the United States are also under by massive holidays that cannot be agricultural on places not increasing globalization, new pills and despair theories and non potent anti-government insurgencies. The same say represent towards the United States will come comments and Islamic fundamentals things al-Qaeda battlefield the war on terrorism continues the threat of anti-globalization backlash settled by widespread resentment North trading practice is enormous, and the U.S. responding by forward deployments of the South China Sea, Tibet, Neck, and O2. The Southern Ice stronghold Muslim girls to join access the first time the U.S. suspended global war on terrorism outside of Afghanistan, which is to confront Abdul Shaif, the West Smash, the falls within the Philippines, first cost of Washington, Southeast Asia, Shaif, the radical columns, the South China Chief, particularly to use the Philippines need to pray naval force to prevent Abdul Shaif is using naval capabilities. Island hop. This causes miscalculations. The cost of CSI since 1998. The growing suppressive housing, the access to calculations between military forces come close contact with the disputed territory to by naval governments and naval conflict. Even now, superior to CBM, seems to prolonged by others. It continues to commit threats. Freedom and aggression. The U.S. will almost certainly become involved. The U.S. Chinese government's response to these attacks may signal of displacement could increase saber rallying force in the South China Sea. Nowhere the continuing ability when it comes to military activity to split the airspace. The fear that those states are capable of taking advantage of protecting white captive defense capability. Impact is nuclear war. This whole 2001. Miscalculation may cause China to react irrationally. China to document focus on performance, project offensive ram strike capabilities, ideas strike first, strike hard through the nuclear response place. The only place real confidence recently could significant losses on China's sea rotation fast point in East Asia control the trade out into East Asia, where China has led to a dozen provocative action to destabilize the region in terms of thousands of power toward China by creating fine road advantage. 3 is trade. Sub point 8, world trade is dead. U.S. arms leader causes collapse of the WTO started global war. Now it's time to unconditionally eliminate subsidy. The press of the SI in 2003 collapse of WTO to a hot round. There's one step the president state recruitment global scope of the U.S. for critical sports to help create systems. The U.S. is moving and unconditionally phase out subject agriculture would export the collapse of talk towards the whole question of future WTO global trade system and major intercount for the world economy, and promotion of the bilateral regional trade agreements, the purpose of the World War II is world the failure in Cancun, the trends likely accelerate rapidly, and the United States' refusal to eliminate farm slavery destroys marketing, forcing billions of people to live in abject poverty. The refusal of the United States to dismantle distortions of free trade is the biggest barrier to growth throughout the world. Only unilateral action solves this. New York Times note 3. The agricultural policy of the United States billions of sloppy humanitarian hardship. Foreign farmers in the double import agriculture made the hipster asset American free trade treaty. The largest farmers able to dump products in the world market. The grains not has the power to most presidents who have as well as Philippines, U.S. activists, and plot to branch imperialism, world bank space, and to trade destroying farm subsidy can spend global wealth on $100 trillion and highly founded people out of poverty. I used in 2015 Washington material free trade defense operation out of the poorest country, but food exporting allies in Cancun, formidable black choice, United Post, predicting altitude farm subsidy been addressed negotiations are on life support thanks to mainly absence of American leadership. The United States refused to give economic weapons to actually farm subsidy would actually boon to American farmers because the high to make a large fertilization, make them winners more outward competition, push good chumps on reform with sweeping unilateral gestures, ideal spawning, systematic wrong-headed market distortion, American astronomical slowly trade fictions may grow worse. It could take a collapse of the global trading system for the political balance of power to shift from Washington to against the callable farm lobbies, and the Farm Bill under BTU's create credibility at the Doha and eases pressure of the subsidy abuse and threatens retaliation. Midtel and Who First Know 2. Dickless described the new bill's perfect illustration of hypocrisy, trade liberalization, the feeling of WTO sanction, threat, retaliation, to use hypocrisy, and trade protection with the passage of the US bill. The US does no longer stand out, Senate Japanese retaliation, the federal trade, the American trading party election, blow over the credibility of Japanese policy, WTO, the US present trade oriented, wholly inconsistent with the new bill, which now negotiate on the basis of a do as I say, not as I do, and the Congress must lead the world by amending farm bills and cutting subsidy. Fitzgerald, the Heritage Foundation, no 3 Congress lead by volunteering by the proposal, the creative work says to cut subsidies in the US and take the lead forward the federal prosperity, the IC's agriculture industry, pursue better price, expand choice for prime American credibility, global marketplace, and dual credibility, the US additional leverage needs in negotiation. Moreover, the subsidy cuts in the level of the 2002 Farm Bill crushed leadership, locked in protectionist position underneath the U.S. bill to negotiate the WTO Griswold No. 3. The Congress has rated increasing willingness to ban U.S. leadership and trade pressure from domestic switching and agriculture in the back of Asian financial crisis and credibility of the 2004 Farm Bill with subsidies of 80% higher than 1996 law. The new farm has a universally decried by our trading partners who rely on the U.S. hypocritically preach free trade, but practicing subsidies and deal predictability has been compromised. U.S. companies cannot expect for country decree to bear if the United States maintains a high barrier to subsidies and agricultural trade. Moreover, the multilateral negotiation will liberalize EU agriculture, which will not occur. This has to go. This agricultural law look to non-agricultural trade, avoiding liberalization, hypertech agricultural markets, you can trade negotiating. You find it hard to resist the collective influence of collecting seeking globalized world agriculture. Sub point B is World War. First note that WTO rules and arbitration essential for escalation, inevitable trade wars, global treaty wars, new Tribune 99. The purpose of WTO is not to wage war, but to prevent architects prevent with the condemned the PP 1930 and another global 1930 protect forces prevent predator international economic trade wars better neighbor policy health for war trade war to war with WTO against the post-war era. The United States firmly committed to global freedom for free trade songs have conflicting interests talking instead of war and WTO on top of the peace of sovereignty grave danger biggest threat to WTO's clients for free trade with the United States and the absent the WTO these wars will go nuclear coupling new service 99 the spectre nuclear force freezing all life diplomacy with active to the third nation or the like W for the possibility for all conflict of the nation penetrating threat of war and nuclear war for them COVID economics war protests the 135 WTO nation peacefully discuss economic issues life just settled and bomb in the past as long as nations treating peacefully their economies are built exports of the countries Beijing says had a way toward global prosperity counter spectre of nuclear war nation are learning to live and work together and history proves our argument this is mellow and 188 was cross-border armies after nuclear and all that comes the cold trade war escalated hot shooting wars from non-stop borders 17th century with restricted trade policy of the world British share program American colonists to revolution 19th century trying to side politicians Europe again directing trade bills hostility built up until eventually exploded into World War II. The 1930s Hoover side to smooth all the active result of world trade company to call the design world plunged into the Great Depression. The pressure turned to World War II. Can we afford to allow this to happen? Nuclear age for Chinese war is the economic fallacy of national and bargaining trade focus on Monty devaluation, the philosophy of protection, the philosophy of war. Moreover, independence makes war unfeasible. This is Griswold, the Center for Trade Policy 98. Trade encourages people to live in peace together. Trade encourages cross-border and makes more economic independent. Trade makes more profitable. One nation produce goods out through them. They conquer them by permanent community. Trade creates a network human context international. Creates tolerance, respect. Trade makes war less by feeling by raising the cost of terrible business. When goods cannot cross-border, armies often will, and also a lack of economic independence replaces Monty diplomacy with gunboat diplomacy. Is scribing in one country versus hostility in other country. Knows Monty but trade in other country gives hostile other country would fight over some of the issue beside trade independent country better to test the economic party because they more effectively exert non-violent economic pressures are the consequences. And without sustained U.S. trade leadership, the global economy backslide and comes sparking war was bursting at the Institute for International Economy. No one caused the present crisis to decline effective U.S. leadership. Global economic season Washington building makes us leaping tail for the fast review. The popular backers global stage political statement and motion international economic and global change still backwards and the absent continued forms where that side to come in the form of test like regional protected disputes across the Atlantic East Asia free trade world like emerge the ICC remains aside of international hit for the last 5 years to specifically meet that projected positive impact and breach of liberalization will dialogue prosecute the way the trade tags and hostility between regional blocks. He continues because of the ways on the world economy dynamic growth and traditional leadership over the United States most important player on the global economic system. The erosion U.S. position on global economic multilateral institutions leadership. If not check this erosion continues severe international conflicts, disintegration of global economic policy impact is global nuclear wars. This Lewis 1998. Instead of allowing countries to withdraw from the global economy, the U.S. neo-colonial wars forcing countries to maintain the classic global economy. These wars will result in mass death suffering if we reach nuclear wars. We may see mass death and genocide, global scale, make the pale deaths of World War II pale compared to the wars that so damage the complex economic trade networks, quantum material, biological energy, sweat, underneath the economy, and the ability to support there are 6 to 8 billion people. Moreover, trade leadership is key to overall U.S. leadership. Hormats and 01. America's leadership in promoting trade globalization and robust global economic system, essential security benefits American people to this country's ability to maintain strong, effective leadership on global, political, and security matters for the last 50 years. And the impact is global nuclear wars closed down 1995. Under the third option, the United States seeks to retain global leadership, improve the horizon of another global environment, the multipolarity and definition on balance of the best long-term guiding principle, states is sufficient, desirable in itself, because the world and the United States exercise leadership had tremendous advantage for us. The global environment would be a more open, receptive, American values, democracy, free trade, rule of law. Second, the world would have better chance of dealing properly with most of the power stations. You can politicians thus to region of gender and renegade states and low-level conflict. You, as states, would help preclude the rise of another hostile global environment in the United States and world to avoid another global cold hot war. All the tendencies include global nuclear states, U.S. leadership with law conducive to a global swing, the bipolar and multipolar balance of power system. Not bad, how you doing?
All right. Now, you read this piece of Cohen evidence in, it's like your second card, you have it tagged as the plan provides income to solve food security. Now this card says, given the rural center of gravity of poverty, broad-based agricultural or rural development is essential for reducing poverty and assuring food security in developing countries. What I'm curious about is, where's your evidence that says that cutting subsidies would solve agricultural development in developing nations?
First card.
That's the first card?
First card, yeah.
That evidence that says that United States continuation of agricultural subsidies causes poverty, but it doesn't give the reverse causal that banning subsidies would cause them.
The last line of the card says the way to reduce poverty and increase food security in developing countries seems to be the elimination of substantial subsidies.
Right, yeah, exactly.
From
Seems to be. See, your evidence sort of says that the U.S. agribusinesses are doing, all these sorts of things and dumping agricultural products.
Subsidies are the single reason why agricultural liberalization is possible.
Where's the evidence for that?
Our first piece of card, I think it's vanilla.
No, that says trade liberalization practices. It doesn't say subsidies are the number one cause.
It does say the word subsidies in the
okay.
essence.
Trade liberalization practice.
It's outstanding on the claim. And our New York Times evidence says that.
That's cool.
Okay.
Your DEBCA evidence says that the United States is already expanding forward deployment in the South China Sea and is already engaged in military cooperation with the Philippines.
Correct.
Where's the evidence that says the plan causes the U.S. to remove our fleet?
We read evidence that says the impetus for those forward deployments is because of the anti-American sentiment in those countries, and we continue
But your
that we
evidence
remove
says
that
that Bush has
anti-American
already
sentiment.
labeled them a key front in the war on terror and pledged military cooperation.
Correct,
Why would the plan cause them to be removed
because those
from
terrorist
our
activities are
list?
occurring in the status quo, we remove the impetus for those terrorist activities to happen.
Wait, how does that work? Aren't Abu Sayyaf already pissed off at the United States? Do you read any evidence that do you read any evidence that says the plan would cause them to forgive the United States?
The reason why Abu Sayyaf has the recruitment powers that it does is because of resentment toward United States trade practices.
But correct me if I'm wrong, you read no reverse causal evidence that says the plan will cause them to forgive
I think
the United
our
States.
evidence is quite good on the claim that the reason why people in the Philippines are going toward anti-American groups is because of farm subsidies.
Right, no, I do not dispute you have a link to your evidence. I'm just curious if you have any evidence that claims the plan would cause them to forgive the United States.
We'll contend if no people are in the group, then the group will no longer exist.
So is that a no? Okay. Your trade credibility advantage.
I don't really know what you want from me.
Your trade credibility advantage, what's the impact to the United States not having trade credibility?
Our evidence, well, it's twofold. First, our evidence indicates that the WTO dispute mechanism will collapse without U.S. leadership, and that in itself is
but sorry, let me rephrase my question. I'm not the end impact. Why is U.S. trade credibility good for those things?
Our Bergstein evidence is quite good. It says that without U.S. leadership, that the traditional impact of regionalization will be lost.
So U.S. trade negotiation credibility prevents regionalization?
And also, in itself, it allows for negotiations to be successful.
Multilateral WTO negotiations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, the organizational capacity put on this tournament is immense. I'm pretty messed up when it comes towards organizational ability, so it's pretty amazing to see that this thing goes off smoothly with as many teams as possible. I'd like to thank some people because I guess it seems to be like a traditional thing to do. First, I'd like to thank my parents. They're probably watching this on live feed. They've put a lot of money into this for me. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to thank all the coaches that have supported me in this activity for the last 4 years. Brian Lane is just amazing. I mean, there's no other way to describe the man. He is there for you whenever you need him. He knows how to run a program. Josh Ho, one of the first people who taught me what college debate was. Cody Morrow, one of the first people who taught me what high school and college debate was. Casey Kelly, who is a hoss. There's no other way to say it but that. He's one of the most amazing people I've ever met in this activity. Travis Neal, amazing. There's nothing else I can say about him, but he's been one of my best friends in this activity, one of the most amazing and influential people I've known. Justin Green, John Hines, Kenda Cunningham, these are all people who have very much influenced me. I'd like to take a special thanks to Julian, Scotty Gopra, and Johnny Pereira, who I started with, and I'll probably end with all of them. Mike, Cade, Ben, Patrick, Max, etc., all the people that are really loving this activity. I'd like to thank you all. And with that, it's 3 off-case arguments, and then it's going to go to the third world farmers advantage, then the
That's poverty.
advantage, then the trade advantage.
Third world farmers is not poverty.
That's what you said.
Oh, yeah.
And then the trade advantage, and then the South China escalation advantage. You can put his laptop over there. Is everyone ready? First off, policy 203, someone needing his administration divided for attacking North Korea, Bush is holding off conservative pressure to attack 9 Twitter, and 2 for Bush again, emphasizing cooperation, diplomacy, 40 Bush, 8 7 working hard to risk schedule 6 party attacks on North Korea. On the nuclear program, North Korea remains to be seen whether shift towards diplomacy, national evolution, some administration, mission, one step of pressure on the US, where we have for the change, represents an immediation, at least for now, the influence of new concerns for leading advocates of the war, and you are also called for watching over the regimes of your United push on foreign policy rise, main divide hawks in the Pentagon, Vice President, and Vice President Cheney's office of most engagement, neo-conservatives are pushing Bush again, Indian war, terrorist by overthrowing the regime, city around, and share that's the policy pushing India book, and US move, to overthrow North Korea leader Kim Jong-un, almost will start to capture against after World War with about 70 million people, and Bush is pursuing diplomatic engagement with the Korea, but the hawks will still convince Bush to attack American prospect, 2K after 2 years, false order ignored North Korea, the Bush administration to change course, and the administration now was ready for the administration also announced how they've been a regime change to quality of work since on the Armed Services Committee how far enough to report the president will appreciate the support security breach on how the administration makes mention some members of Congress have sought to bolster the hardline position in the farm lobby controls both parties in Washington. There's bipartisan support for the farm bill repealing when started political parties in Washington Canada serves to engage with farming reach and also make automation expected, but you also know that industry climate watch the farm industry's influence combination of some factors including the role of agriculture played historically the key position of lobbying farm states and political realms in 2002 election every state also as state farmers given by the industry's advantage every senator includes farmers like historic constituent senators from the very small rural areas of the power. Some of the most effective leaders in Congress are people involved in agriculture. 6 states have all given heavy farmer subsidies, also monthly middle classes rescues, and presidents in Congress have determined the controls and also illustrates increasing political clout of the farm lobby, and that will also cause Bush to turn the neo-conservatives increasing risk of pre-flex to them in 284. By seeking to start conservative balance between the traditional neo-conservatives and neo-conservatives, Bush should try to mitigate the international community's backlash against the excess use of neo-conservatives as CBS foreign policy. Neo-conservatives tendency not likely to be affiliated from Bush stands a chance for making his re-election in 284. The difference between 1992 now is that the American electorate views the global situation become more security since September 11th. Now, what is found in the re-election also tell I like that this sustained influence on neo-conservatives will see some point impact for diplomacy to Korea will cause a nuclear war in the Korean Peninsula is into get through 6 targets for the cooperation between DP Cargill, Malaysia, alleged nuclear program by the Korean cracked out paramox but also going to be heard around the world. So to work on all the destroyed the capital city Korea and Korea also risk climate for all the great powers possible use of weapons of mass destruction next off peace process is set ace and one peace process not only new round talks made by Baltimore Sunday 2K3. Short said the United States would carry that there's no markers on US roadmaps and peace plan right now. We have to think about the change of status quo to reach our fundamental security. Israel has been a security barrier encroaching on Palestine land also survive around Jewish settlements of land Palestinian invasion as part of their arguments and peace of one is linked the land overcharged US relations by removing subsidies economies into K2. Trade between Europe and America also traditional Turkey and as Turkey and pumpkin pie but the use source of organ likely to be more porous than the monstrous farm bill also will undermine the hopes of liberalizing farm chains 2000 farm bill. Those all this when American subsidies but our farm may also reach 3 to 4 European levels more subsidies agriculture and force American recalcitrating parties to negotiate available this analogy is unrealistic of SNC sub 1 strong US relations are key to the peace process and 2 K3 how can the United States and Europe also meeting the easy blue right conference approach Middle East possible collectively cultivating cooperation and cooperating let's about change that face and general on Middle East they also take voluntary trust cultivating justly regional key problems for Europeans want a stronger Europe to cooperate now comes to the United States more united European position agenda let's more balance and cooperating European sense to increase coordination on the Iran peace process demonstrate the United States more likely to agree with the world so the United cooperative Europe then with a deeply divided resentful and peace process causing nuclear affairs 1997 Middle East peace process also risk regional nuclear proliferation Palestine same more likely to encourage both war terrorism and as for the duration Palestine also want use of exchange to nuclear arms Israel their loss of property and also can help bring trauma Israel would also move to war of explicit nuclear declaration counterpoint. The United States Congress should require the eligibility for nearly all overall agricultural subsidies in Titles 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10 of the Farm Security Rural Investment Act be dependent upon the implementation of carbon sequestration programs as outlined by the Conservation Reserve Program. Reservation was competition permutations won't get anywhere. The plan removes the funding authorization for subsidy, increases the counterplan, changes the way that increase in funding are implemented. The counterplan is mutually exclusive of the plan. And observation 2 is that observation 1 is competition is mutually exclusive after since all those subsidies. Observation 2 is net benefits, climate adaptation, ASA point sequestration funding is critical to allow time for technology advance to deal with global warming. These Washington Post 2 for farmers struggling the big point is always to cash crop maybe horizon carbon also provide extra income for farmers and a significant environmental evidence that $50 million project also be earned by 10 universities this has the goal of encouraging farmers to use methods including no-till farming that keep carbon in this world widespread. Carbon sequestration while the farmers will reach the expected increase in carbon monoxide emission by 20 years by 20%. Leaders of the project will all for immediate farmers may also benefit from government incentives for carbon sequestration practices. Carbon sequestration has been discussed among the conservation credit offers for the recent farm bill. We're also looking for 44 from 75 million to 200 million with 2 tons of carbon that can be sequestered each year. This one is solve all the greenhouse gases, but also stop the increasing emissions for 30 to 40 years until better technologies come out. The impact have been climate change threats of global civilization. The 9 tenths of the consequence
consequence one, one, even more intensifying a cascade of environmental effect that all sharing out civilization was foundational to get the catalog of anticipated effect recycled by biblical apocalypse on tissues. The consequence will include not only more and extreme temperatures will also increase more rain and snowstorms, destructive hurricanes, and projected crop destroying land. All the nations also every might disappear under these ecological shift, which outbreaks and infection. These the feedbacks will warn also feed more nightmares disease, intensify the speed of the warming for more higher temperature reach and modifiers that also burn out the forests, vegetation, absorb carbon dioxide, the burning wood ice, the accumulation of greenhouse gases leading into warming, climate destabilization. This was going to put the global climate into an epoch of wild trade. Or sorry, the third one. None of their evidence is first causal about rescission of foreign subsidies caused by all these arguments. Do they manage to take some the ability for them to win internal link in the plan one level of playing field? European subsidies are huge and they want to get Hawkins to get through EU foreign subsidies are world's largest and trade distorting northern will come to a shape space with the splits by the members of EU reform commissions resorted to the insurgents and division tactics. Economists turn pesticides. It's the point farmers in developing countries are these pesticides causing multiple health problems. Average use to defeat developing farmers all poisoned by pesticides. Money their environmental regulation and injurious chemicals are contributing to public health disaster. Public health pesticides are often linked to cancer, immunological studies. These subpoints cause environmental collapse and mass cancer. Media group into poisoning our farmers and developing world crop saving. Also developing countries where we're eradicating workers and high risk of concentration of cancer. In 2001, there were 300,000 cases of poisoning, 5,000 deaths, and their arguments turn. Limiting subsidies will massively displace farmers in developing countries who can't compete. Terrorists can't check back effects of subsidies. Warsaw and to gain gains from market access and increasing the century with low middle income and actually get about countries $500 per person would also have by 2050 500 by all sources as opposed to $500 if nothing was done at all. These low countries that subsidize food to place economics that low countries need to achieve food to feed their people. But the ideal level of playing field, this is wrong. Mexican farmers tens of millions of farmers will be wiped out in China. There's no difference even if you limit all subsidies between a subsidy and increase natural budget. This placement you have is potentially enormous and proven acts subsidies also only help local bourgeois in the third world multinational exploitation. The equivalent of state we should liberate by placing the profits in the slave population and plot and to get through their call for cutting out subsidies in the name of their own markets poorly followed all with their traditional neoliberal capitalists. The export agriculture will also benefit from the elimination of first world ag subsidies as more corporations which are thereby third world oil darkies multinational campaigns about one agricultural subsidies limited one economic and political injustices continue for the alternative because at least one is dead Rosa and two and national external that is number one obstacle social service broad based upon every third world concurrence reason the government our capitals also start by unsustainable balance placed on debt service one domestic turmoil this market to get through clarity also argue that countries undercuts the developing country which are there retards their economic growth place from poverty developing world cannot be placed by all the nations or subsidies will next argument see some point is that the plan diverse attention from solving these critical problems maker to get through well many agricultural subsidies are important argues that trade the impacts and enormous policy by percentages for that energies of nations that prevail economic development normal important nation the total investment into low income middle countries with a range are passed by African countries with annual $500 per person would have more than 5,003 and increases are small in their food security. This is summer to get through despite the new programs USAID articulates only marginally more than subsidies 1990 to 2001 and fifth argument is term removal of US subsidies on balance damaging developing countries well bank reports can see that economic benefits sure the best a lot of money helps their world economies maker to get through would result in little additional income for exporting countries according to the World Bank is the major country subsidy but also under present trade agreements have a per capita income of $500 per income and 20,000 which also have a per capita income of $503 6 is organic farming is turn organic farming is some of the developing countries are shifting to organic farming because they're unable to compete in status quo and new scientists to get to organic farming is increasing the feed of the poor world and the poor world that the myth is also organic farming and glorious in the developing world does not apply especially among poor farmers who can't yield less amounts of fertilizer pesticide to raise equal based off this is getting food security economic types to get 3,000 farmers also through organic agriculture they need to achieve food security and also simultaneously increase biodiversity organic farming also fast reliance on maximize the natural resources and the sustainable ways of their turn banning subsidies would cost small farmers. Next advantage? Yeah. Next advantage. Therefore, to disadd to the plan and net benefit of the counterplan, A point uniqueness, U.S. is still little, the U.S. has little trade negotiation credibility and garner trade concession in the status quo. That's the first card that reads uniqueness to their advantage. B point is the link. The plan increases American trade negotiation credibility, and this allows the agenda international trade discussion. This is also the first uniqueness card of the advantage. C point the internal link. The United States trade agenda is not multilateral free trade based on WTO, but rather bilateral and regional preferential trade agreements. They will use the credibility garnered by the plan to secure these deals, which actually advocate global free trade. The law here in 2 American negotiations in the United States are also going to be united WTO members part of the feature. The United States way to also move toward free trade. The can do countries. So this message is clear. Pesky would countries can also multilateral organization, liberalization, multilateral ways of the United States in such a clear head push for the free trade through bilateral regional agreements. See some point the impacts they the impacts for us. All other evidence of free trade enormous. Assumes multilateral free trade negotiations. Free trade is crucial to solve terrorist attacks, whose impact to extinction is solved. And inevitable war next argument is that no risk of WTO collapse developed in developing countries are all aware of their economic dependence on each country. Even if friction continues, there's a reason war was also result of multilateralism would be in a sick armies on multiple issues. Block WTO negotiation developing despite developing nations commitment to multilateral trading system Belmar and to get the group 77 China. Also, there's an alternative multilateralism non-discriminatory trading system where McCarthy said it requires a complete review. Anti-dumping practices and decent standard 5 trade related IPRS market access to expedited negotiations, agricultural, textiles, and clothing, and noteworthy uniqueness to the advantage the U.S. is already pushing bilateral regional trade agreements to leverage into E3. Scratch that card. And empirically, trade disputes not escalating trade war in 1983. After second agricultural disputes in 1960, agricultural tariffs remained high key balance in East, so chicken war dispute was unsatisfactory for the agricultural trade war continued 1970s in Tokyo war. Agricultural trade was separate negotiating top in 19. The Tokyo Red failed to make progress in 1970. The Camp Horse party concluded international communal agreements with daily fare and beef and protectionist file between the United States and the U.S. inevitable has completely unrelated to GMOs. Larger into the European Alliance unit has also won authorization to impose an restriction on U.S. imports and several pieces of the biggest American foreign sales, SD tax rates for U.S.-based corporations and China. First Army's U.S. naval deployment deterred Chinese attack this Walter in 2000. Some Americans consider that China may argue, though, with the Chinese actively pursuing hegemony. Most states in Asia are turning the United States account about China's rise to increase the likelihood that some point the ambitions will collide with China. And the next argument is that overwhelming conventional security deterred Chinese attack this Ross in 2002. Chinese military leaders believe the United States possesses far superior warfighting capabilities. Also believe the United States security can high cost for Chinese defend the conventional support of the United States and enhance U.S. credibility arguments. And even if deterrence failed, the U.S. would kick the rest of Ross. And even if deterrence fails, the United States can also still achieve its objective through the victory on the battlefield. Conventional deterrence therefore was unintended effective at achieving and enhancing the credibility of subsequent U.S. deterrence designation. Not some of the U.S. demands Washington using conventional force to carry out a short destruction.
What was the last argument?
If we went to war, it wouldn't escalate. The United States would beat them down.
What's the status of the counterplan?
It's dispositional.
Okay. What's your definition of dispositionality?
If you prove why the counterplan is not competitive, we have the right to jettison it. If you straight turn the counterplan, e.g. make solvency deficit arguments to the counterplan, or straight turn the net benefit, or the DA.
Which is with it. Cool. What does the counterplan do? It excludes Title II.
Johnny, you want to handle this?
Can I answer this? No.
Sure.
The counterplan issues an eligibility requirement which says that all the subsidies are given, require that they're given to conservation programs as contained in the, I think it's Conservation Reserve Program
One more
in
time.
Article 2.
So do you not rescind those subsidies?
No, we give them to conservation programs.
Okay, so you rescind all other subsidies and give them to conservation programs?
No, we do not rescind the subsidies. The amount the amount of money that the United States spends on subsidies continues.
Okay, so the only thing you do then is rescind, or is then maintain conservation programs?
Right, it establishes an eligibility.
What's the difference? What is the difference between that and the status quo, I guess?
Well, in the status quo, we fund all these sorts of different things. In the counterplan, we fund conservation.
So you no longer fund things like soybean, corn,
Well,
etc.
Yes.
Does the counterplan solve the case?
Yes, it solves the case.
So you do rescind all other subsidies but conservation?
No, we do not rescind those subsidies.
How does it solve the case?
Because it changes the eligibility requirements to require that the subsidies are given based on conservation.
Explain to me how that solves the case.
Well,
Per se.
which advantage would you like to know why we solve
It doesn't cut subsidies, it just changes the eligibility.
It changes the requirements for getting the subsidies to conservation. Implementing of conservation.
Okay, so then all farms must implement these conservation programs before.
Correct.
So then it doesn't solve the case.
No,
Okay.
it does solve the case because the same sorts of subsidies.
Sure, let's
are
talk
not
about your
given up.
politics today. You read internal link evidence talking about the GOP hawks being divided.
Yeah.
Then you read link evidence about how GOP or politicians in farm states such as Ohio, Indiana, and wherever we are now. Do you read evidence that says the hawks such as Cheney give a crap about the farm bill?
I think Cheney's pretty much in chains with the farm lobby. I think Cheney's a lot of his budget comes from the farm lobby.
your
These are
evidence is talking
Midwest
about-
states that are
hold on a second. Your
hardcore
evidence is talking
conservatives
about
that Cheney
Trump's,
probably sucks into.
the war cabinet. Do you have any evidence that says the?
Dude, the war cabinet is in bed with the breadbasket of America. I mean, this is talking about Baptist Mid-America.
Okay.
The Baptist Mid-Americans
Our Baptist
are
Mid-Americans.
the neocons.
Okay,
man.
what will your response be to a uniqueness claim that there are other things pissing off the GOP?
I mean, we'll make those arguments in 200. I don't think I have to disclose those arguments yet.
Sure, but there are other things that piss off the GOP constantly. Why is the farm bill, or what is your
The farm bill's probably okay. Go ahead, John. If you want to answer that.
No, you can answer.
The farm bill is probably the largest thing that has an impact in the U.S. Congress. I mean, our lobby evidence is amazing about the influence it has when it comes towards political campaigns, the ability for it to set agendas, etc.
Before I get started, first I'd just really like to thank the Louisville debate team and CEDA for hosting this humongous tournament and for making it run really smoothly. I've had a fantastic time, and I always really like coming to CEDA because I feel like it's a little bit more laid back. And it's just a more laid back atmosphere than other tournaments, especially like the NDT, where I just feel totally stressed out the whole time and I don't really enjoy myself. So it's been a really great experience. And then I just really have to thank everyone on the Emory debate team, both for their work outside of this tournament, and then also just for coming together and really supporting me and Henry in preparation for our elimination rounds, and especially to Bob and Greenstein for really just doing something really kind for us and helping us get to this point, and also to Stephen and Cyrus for also letting us advance over them. That was really noble of them. I also need to thank the coaches that are here, at least. I'd like to thank James Rowland for just his warm heart and for always having a smile for me every time I see him. It really just makes me feel good. I'm always happy to see James every time I see him. D. Height, just for being awesome, for writing great strategies. I've won so many debate rounds pretty much solely because of him and because of his coaching. So I owe a lot of that to him. To Melissa for letting me debate how I wanted to debate, letting me participate in this activity at the level that I wanted to, instead of forcing me to go one way or the other. That really meant a lot to me. And to Ricky, who was a new acquisition. I didn't really know him that well until this year, but he's just been a great coach and a great friend. He's always been so willing to help out. He's been really responsible. And last, I'd like to thank Henry for putting up with me for the last 4 years. I haven't debated a single college round without Henry, and I'm kind of happy about that because I really enjoy debating with him. So, yeah, thanks. All right, so 2AC. It's going to be politics, then the trade advantage, then poverty, then the Philippines, the peace process, DA, and then campaign. I'll put it right here. I got it. All right. One, there's no link. There are link evidence systems, Republicans and farm states, where there's no impact evidence system talks within the Bush administration. Also, Bush won't plan. He's never advocated the elimination of farm subsidies. No reason to spend political capital plan. Animal slides of controversy. National review in 2000. Like most civilian avoidance, like steeper political and safer calculation. Blue slides open conflict and the plan. The fiat is a bomb. Normal means stock is predicted. It's most predictable commercial document indicating when the plan will be passed. And middle means prevents astral spike and dissat. So our interpretation of its best. Also, big farm lawyers support county subsidies. New York Times in 2003, big farm groups were encouraged, saying that the agreements to reduce subsidies would eventually benefit American farmers and subsidies. The supports for opening corn and Bush's losses based for fire reasons. Novak in 2004, Republicans on either side of Pennsylvania seem to go in the opposite direction. Over the size of the highway bill, giving permission to runaway spending tax cuts, lose Republicans in perplexing efforts to keep the 9/11 investigation from campaign season. Also, immigration and the economy have killed the basis from EPI. In 2004, compass of the Bush administration advisors and economic terms of the Bush administration immigration is hard poking massive little increase. Also, GOP fiscal policies and discipline. They're a matter of fiscal discipline. Alice from South Bend Tribune in 2004, Bush's political advisor has been preaching the need to energize the conservative base expansion of Medicare and other fiscal spending. Also, Iraq intervention makes North Korean weapons deployment inevitable. The status quo is from BBC in 2004. The Iraqi and North Korean army realized they safeguard the country, deterrent force will even more be the force of the technology and deterrent every way. Also, Bush will never attack North Korea. North Korea will never lead solid negotiations after the election. Shapiro in 2004, the United States no one under the conflict given the cost of Afghanistan. The Bush administration stated repeatedly that no intention to use the force that would be prepared to use mutual assurance. This also Bush is already attempting to destroy negotiations down. New York Times in 2004, administration intended to use talks to convince other participants that North Korea is not interested in diplomatic solution. Some of that have already begun to slow and increase paces in North Korea. Also, U.S. weapons modernization strengthens North Korean hardliners now. Washington Post in 2004.
Don't read that.
And also North Korea will back down. No risk of escalation. Michigan in 97, North Korean military has never gone before in the culture of success. North Korea is already back down just before it's escalated, and no one has incentive to support the North in preventing escalations. From Ellen in 99, the U.S. tends to overstate the threats no longer exists. Back to surrogates, auxiliary regional conflicts will begin and contain within the Soviet Union. Now, the trade advantage on the top, they dropped our leadership advantage. Our evidence indicates that trade leadership is critical to overall leadership, and our impact is caused out, which is nuclear wars all over the globe, which also solves back all their disadvantages. Since we keep the lid on global conflicts. Now, the first time he says that we read a diss out, we're not fucking stupid. We've been running this since Georgia State, and our evidence indicates that it doesn't matter if we increase protections in the long term as long as we stay at the WTO, because they can make those protect every day, can prevent those trade wars from escalating global shooting wars. Also, our evidence indicates that agricultural subsidies are the major impediment to global free trade talks. Also, our evidence assumes the status quo of the United States is not removing its agricultural subsidies. Now, the next argument says that there's no collapse and there's multiple other issues. Our evidence indicates agricultural subsidies are the issues. Our New York Times and press evidence indicate that agricultural subsidies are uniquely market story, and that's proved by Cancun, where half the world literally walked out of those trade talks because of agricultural subsidies, and they will collapse free trade and destroy the WTO and destroy U.S. negotiating credibility, which will lead to inevitable wars. All the globe says it doesn't escalate, but it exceeds our Copeland News Service evidence that indicates that trade wars will never escalate to global shooting wars with nuclear weapons. Also, our Miller evidence indicates that all the wars the last 300 years have been caused by a lack of free trade. The last time says that there's protections because of GMOs. Our evidence indicates that ag is critical, and the WTO solves even if we leads more protections in the future. Poverty. The ones when he says that it's not a revolution, or he says that it's not reverse causal, but it's obviously reverse causal. Ag subsidies are causing people to starve. That removal of those ag subsidies will make it so those people don't starve. He says there's no return link in that EU, but our agricultural outlook evidence indicates that the EU will reduce the subsidies that the United States tax first. He says pesticides, but in turn we decrease pesticides. The reason why other countries have to use pesticides because they can't compete with the United States without using those pesticides because of agricultural subsidies. If we remove those, and there's no reason why they have to use this. There's multiple alternate causalities that their evidence talks about. Things like lack of regulations in these countries that lead to pesticide use, and their evidence is just a script of the status quo, and also their impact is uniquely small. There's no reason we would increase the number of cancer deaths. He says that it hurts development, but they don't need subsidies when the United States removes its own subsidies. That's also answered on the number one with our Tiao and Diaz evidence indicates agricultural subsidies uniquely collapse world food prices. The next two arguments, he says that it only helps bush and he reads multiple alternate causalities, but our evidence indicates that the majority of poor agricultural workers, and so that means the plan will lead to sustainable development because we'd increase
their income 2.5 times, which allows them access to things like healthcare and other types of things, so they don't have to be dependent on aid, and they can be more dependent on trade. He says that they increase small farmers and that it helps developing economies, where evidence indicates that $82 billion in the farm subsidies have destroyed these developing countries. He says organic farming, but first is that the organic farming causes soil erosion and extinction. This is from Avery. In 97, the farm would also be more soil erosion. The biggest single threat to erosion would be both because of organic forests, lower yields, because of refusals to use herbicides, and mainstream farmers to control the weeds, and also they sparks widespread families from independent. In 99, organic food will feed the world. Chris Harkins, chairman of the agricultural systems in the organic farm world, would mean instant world famine. Also leads to price spikes, which lead to more famines from Cooney. In 99, famines in the area wide phenomenon during famines, local markets, and not supply food because of a substantial number of population can afford. And here's more evidence from Englewood. 99, organic farms and vegetables often built up to the Delaware price, the hives of equivalently grown vegetables in return to sustainment. Now the Philippines managed 121, and TV says that deployment solves now that they'll deter attack. What evidence indicates that, well, first of all, we saw for hegemony by increasing our U.S. trade leadership, so we saw them keep the deployments around the globe. But our evidence indicates that in the South China Sea it's uniquely bad because of the war on terrorism, because it's a unique hotspot. Our evidence indicates that China will preemptively strike the United States if we do it. He says that is not going to escalate, but it doesn't assume the scenario where China freaks out because of miscalculation and preemptively strikes the United States, which leads to short-term nuclear wars with China and the United States in the short term. Now, the peace process. First is that we don't increase U.S.-EU relations. They like agricultural subsidies, and our agricultural outlooks. Evidence indicates they'd be pressured once the United States act, which means our plan doesn't necessarily increase relations. Also, there's no spillover between the agricultural subsidy issue and the issues on the peace process. Also, there's multiple alternate causalities or impact. Their evidence talks about the U.S. roadmap and specific barriers that Israel setting up that would impede the peace process, and there's no way our plan would have an effect on those. Also, there's no internal link that their evidence says an agreement with Europe makes. No, there's no internal link. Their evidence says agreement with Europe makes things better with Europe, not in the peace process. Also, the disputes over also unilateralism on trade and arms control, climate change, IC is killing relations. Now, how about in 2002, actually, American powers become a cause of resentment. The United States unilateralism is growing following intensity, and also China. The thinning context proof relations are sustainable. Whitefield in 1970 European relations are headed for the cultural split. By which context have recently been thinning relations moving to one off the radar screen. Also, relations are critical to stop terrorism. Gordon in 2003, United States still plays against European Union. The even powerful America will lead Europe's political war, military-based cooperation, international organizations, and terrorism causes extinction. Alexander in 2003, last week's suicide bombs back in Jerusalem. Once again, illustrate dramatically the international community has failed us to understand the magnitude implications of the very survival of civilization itself, and also the relations of key to the economy. Bergstein in 99. Transatlantic cooperation and independence and joint responsibility, global leadership, growing rapidly with economic superpowers, Europe and America, the other for need to devise new strategies to range to manage both bilateral economic relations. Global economic issues will be crucial for the economy in the years ahead. Now, counterpoint. First, they solved in the case they don't eliminate subsidies. That means it's still market storing, which destroys people in the developing world. Also destroys U.S. trade leadership. Also, subsidy picks are uniquely bad. The nation, the phrase nearly all proves that topic can be one of the exclude this counterplans. It also destroys our predictability, and they can't generate offense. We can't generate offense because they can run this counterplan as a dissent, and the counterplan artificially inflates the value of their crappy dissent, so they shouldn't be able to run. Also, and that's why nation also dispose bad. It's time and strategies go over on the argument choice allows them to run increasingly abusive strategies, which destroy the 1 year preparation. That's why issue. Also, the current trend of increased CO2 levels is critical stabilizing the climate, which will kill everything on Earth. And so, in 2001, the creation of ice crystals never reached the atmosphere, which tremendous cooling power of the planet would take only a small amount of them to dramatically raise the planet's albedo. The limits planet which is always the supply of supergradation. In the process, attempts to outweigh this turn are laughable and pathetic. This from Felix in 2000 was massive extinction. Global installing 75% of all species were limited. Time exploded every nuclear weapon in existence in every country on Earth. We would not begin to imagine the devastation caused by an ice age. Also, time frames perilously short. This from Moosner. In 2000, the Earth is normally much cooler than it is now. Our near this has gone from 10,000 years. We should be grateful for the Indian summers in which we live. This warm period has meant the human civilization is the next ice age. We'll see a third to the planet. The mass extinction is also warming, prevents massive temperature oscillations and stabilizes the thermal and circulation, reducing the risk of catastrophic cooling. And so, in 2002, essentially all the rapid warmings associated with solar cooling were characteristic of less glaciation as opposed to holy stability of thermal load is critical. Additional warmth may actually provide insurance policy against radical polarization, teach as well as above climate changes that accompany them. Also, current levels of food staples won't keep up with increasing CO2 is necessary to avoid a global food shortage. From ITSO in 2001, where the hope of averting future global food is intestine every current computer normally ever gets its way. The more CO2 to reduce the planet's transmission would simultaneously enhancing plants' photosynthesis and the Earth's vegetation produce considerably more food per acre. Thousands of laboratory field experiments have verified that this is beyond circular doubt and the impacts of extinction. ITSO in 2001, the ongoing rise in the CO2 content will only prove the salvation of the planet. The exhalation of nearly all animal life CO2 is in the air. The more food there is of the laboratory experiments have demonstrated. Also, warm temperatures and critically checking agricultural lab CO2 prevents global starvation. ITSO in 2001, all the European science scariest war. They're incorrect in this prediction. Is inconsistent with the article. The economy is just opposite of what's predicted. Is more likely to be true. And also, adaptation checks impacts of oscillation and runaway warming. ITSO in 2000, playing the record of last 2,000 years of bringing elements of the validity just opposite attention older periods. And for this means much more numerous and severe floods and droughts. There will still be no impetus for plants to check the cooler biomass and water than they are currently. And also will adapt to current warming. Only risk of temperature risk rise benefits from Singer in 98. Even if war were to materialize, this consequence would be largely blind for other climate parameters. Sea level change in their agricultural preserve. The European course is practice now regrets policy of conservation and energy efficiency drawn to the atmosphere to the levels demonstrated. Also, warming solves regional oscillations of stabilized climate cycles. In 90, the regional climate changes have occurred or will occur without plan warming causes change in local temperature variability of seasons. And between years, the similarly inclined usually the planet will be more predictable than actually was before. Also, empirically, now we ravage habitats and species. Now, this from him in 2000, humanity is rapidly destroying habitats that are species, which about 2/3 of species occur on the top. These forests originally covered about 14 million square acres of the planet. Also, warming is critical to tropical biodiversity and it won't have any lasting effects on Arctic species. From Avery
in 99 likely have higher temperatures will be likely to directly destroy tropical forests. Global warming bodies will bodes very well for the world's biodiversity. Arctic has already survived major temperature changes without shrinking. Average acre worldwide temperatures actually reform the winter. Also, soil loss. The ASA point CO2 stabilizes soil loss. So, in 9 benefits of CO2, and the most obvious is stabilize effect of enhanced plant cover. The world's valuable process with the billions of tons of this most important resource. So, loss of the ravages of winter water. The plant grows even more vigorously with CO2. Both these types of erosion will be significantly reduced. Soil aggregation is important for preventing soil loss through erosion. The Beast point soil is key to ecosystem stability. That flips your arguments on its head. This from ITSO in 99 of the intimate relationships among plants and symbiotic soil function. Also have varied as they are complex and they're nearly all responsive co-ecosystems of distribution may also be largely dependent on that, and also SASCO efforts will prevent disease. This is from ITSO in 2000. Given adequate funding and technology above all, commitment to the campaign to roll back malaria spearheaded by the World Health Organization will have to deaths related by malaria by 2010, 2015. The map of malaria distribution bears low resemblance to one job by Rogers and Randolph, and also distribution of tech and economies on the planet. Not warmer climates, no risk of diseases. More 98. The world suffered 6 cholera pandemic. The solution was safer filtration and chlorine. The chlorination of water will not reduce the effectiveness of the water proliferation measures.
Who is ITSO?
He's a scientist.
Who does he work for?
Or
Or better question, who funds his work?
well, I know you're going to say the oil companies. Do we have
Yeah,
evidence to
Exxon,
dispute that?
$250,000 every year given to the ITSO family. Do you have any evidence that indicates that ITSO studies?
We'll read out. If you make that argument, the block, we have evidence that indicates that he's qualified.
let's get it. You had one
where is money come from?
non-ITSO card in the 2AC, right? You had one piece of senior evidence. All the other cards were ITSO, right? I'm pretty sure.
I'm not sure if that's true.
I'm pretty sure that all the other cards are ITSO. Do you have a question for this? All right. Next question. Does your adaptation evidence assume rapid warming or rapid oscillation?
Not rapid to the extent that would happen if there were like positive feedbacks, but our evidence indicates that warming would not cause these type of positive feedbacks, and that adaptation would be able to happen.
Sure. Does any of this evidence assume what our internal link to the counterplan assumes, which is 250 billion metric tons of carbon released into the environment?
Our evidence says that oscillations from that won't happen, and that warming actually stabilizes climate changes.
Does your evidence speak to the massive amount of discharge that comes about as a result of a huge carbon sink that will throw a lot of carbon in the air?
Yeah, our evidence speaks to. It takes into account positive feedbacks, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Okay. How do your ice age arguments work?
Our evidence indicates that just the way that trends work with the Earth, that we are due for an ice age within the next 50 to 75 years, and that. Yes, we are warming now because of fossil fuels, but we need that to offset the ice age, otherwise everything's going to go
Now, how does the ice age cycle in theory work?
How does it work? I can't really give you a scientific explanation. Our evidence cites scientific studies that indicate that every thousands of years that there is a global cooling cycle that results in an ice age.
Does your species, the warming doesn't affect species, assume a world in which there would be a 6 to 9 degree temperature oscillation in 5 years?
I think our evidence does. It says that they could adapt, but like I said before, these positive feedbacks. Our evidence indicates that warming prevents rapid increases or decreases in temperature. So this is relevant.
Do you read a piece of evidence that tries or attempts to differentiate between slow warming or rapid warming?
Yeah, our evidence takes that into account. It says first that fast warming won't happen, and second that even if it did, that species could adapt.
How does CO2 solve soil erosion problems in a world in which farmers are still using non-conservation
our evidence actually
programs?
says that it increases the photosynthetic process, and so it actually increases.
Hey, how does warming solve oscillations?
Our evidence says that it just prevents changes in the temperature. I'm not exactly. I don't know the scientific explanation. I honestly don't know the science behind it, but our evidence cites scientific studies that says that warming it creates a general warming trend rather than
your argument that
switchbacks.
Sorry, I'm going to go to another advantage now. Your arguments on the poverty advantage that says that this would increase third world farmers' incomes by 2.5 times.
Yeah.
Does any of your evidence come close to making the claims in the warrants that our Baker evidence of the 1AC makes, or the 1NC makes, which says that in the next 15 years, if the U.S. were to remove all subsidies, all this would do would literally give $2 more every year.
Right, well, I think the people that write your evidence don't know how to do math. Our evidence indicates that because we increase subsidies over 200% in the 2002 Farm Bill, that it massively destroys and collapses world food prices. And so removing those subsidies would increase it 2.5 times.
Thank you.
It's been a totally awesome tournament. It's been really fun. The CEDA staff, for the community at large, everyone, our friends, comrades, it wouldn't be anything without you all. And, D3, right? Third. Second, my parents and my family, they're watching on the internet right now. They've been incredibly supportive to me throughout my whole debate career. They've, basically gone bankrupt in high school. While I was in high school, to send me to debate camp, fly me to tournaments, put me up, all those different sorts of things. They've been incredible. I would also like to thank all of our coaches. I can just say, UNT has phenomenal coaching. Phenomenal coaching. Brian Lane, like Narav said, is just an amazing director. He's totally transformed the program. He's a friend, a mentor. Travis Neal, who is by far one of my favorite people. He's been here for the past 4 years. For us, he decided to extend his term here, so he can be with us until, we're done. And that really means a lot to us, and he's been, just phenomenal throughout. Cody Morrow, who's been one of my longtime friends. He's a great debate coach. He's been a wonderful addition to our program this year. And Casey Kelly, who's been just outstanding. I mean, this guy does more work than like 2 of our teams combined. And he's also just a great friend, and he's a totally sweet dude. Some past coaches, like Rob mentioned, Justin Green, Josh Ho, John Hines, Jason Sykes, have all been just absolutely instrumental in our development as a debate, and also just our approach to the activity. Our